Welcome to the Wednesday, January 23rd meeting of the Townsend Board of Selectmen. Have a roll call?
Gordon
Or
Clark
roll call
present.
Attendance?
Yes.
Cindy King is present.
Tuesday, January 23rd?
It's what? Tuesday. Why did I say Wednesday?
I just want to make sure it doesn't.
I know, I did say Wednesday, didn't I?
Thank you.
It's Tuesday. I apologize. Okay, can you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. So the meeting is being tape recorded. Is anyone else recording the meeting? Okay. The only addition or deletion I have is Ms. Licio, Selectman Licio will not be here tonight. She's having some trouble with the ice, I guess. We have a 605, 2.1, we have a 605 public hearing with MRPC for the CDBG grant, or CDBG application.
Madam Chair, we do have a checklist.
Oh, we have a checklist.
So one would be a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay.
So a member of the board would move to open the public hearing.
All right.
It's on page 2.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
At this time, Madam Chairman, I make a motion. Should I read the whole thing to be correct here, Mr. Crowley?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay. I make a motion to open the public hearing on January, today's the 23rd, 2018. The Townsend Board of Selectmen will conduct their public hearing on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2018 at 6:05 p.m. at Memorial Hall, 272 Main Street, Townsend, Mass. To receive comment from the public on the Townsend's application to the FY18 Massachusetts Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG program. Applicants can be for up to $800,000 for eligible activities as follows: house rehabilitation, infrastructure, public facilities, and planning services. Interested persons and organizations are encouraged to attend and will have the opportunity to comment and to be heard on the proposed application. Reasonable accommodations will be attended upon written request to the Selectman office prior to the meeting.
All right, second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then, Madam Chair, we have a sign-in sheet. So if folks are in the room and haven't signed in yet, before you leave, it'd be great if you would, just for the record. And that is the white piece of paper with the pen on the table there.
Okay. And to introduce Brian Keating, our MRPC representative, to go over the
Sure. Okay.
stuff.
Madam Selectman, thank you very much. And thank you for agreeing to work with the MRPC to submit and hopefully administer another CDBG grant for fiscal year 2018. As we had met previously in December, we had talked about the possibilities of going over of submitting the grant, and the board graciously voted to move forward. A public hearing, 2 public hearings are required, one during the application period, and if a grant is awarded, we would need to have at least 1 public hearing during the implementation period. The CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant, is due on March 2nd of 2018, and the town and MRPC have agreed to submit for housing rehabilitation and fuel assistance. These activities are generally agreed upon because of their, I don't want to say ease of applying and implementing, but they are projects that, or especially the housing rehab, it is a project that the State Department of Housing and Community Development favors. However, we would, all right, let me back up and say the amount of up to $800,000 is sufficient for, say between 15 and 20 units of housing rehab at $35,000 to $40,000 each, and that would also provide enough funding to do, say, 25 to 30 units of fuel assistance, generally between $500 and $750 per heating season per household. The housing rehab program is a service that is extended to low to moderate income households in Townsend. The low to moderate income is determined by the area median income. And I believe for a family of 4 in Townsend, that is up to $78,150, I believe. Very close in that neighborhood. This information would be made available in pre-applications to residents of the town. We did an extensive amount of housing site visits last year. I believe we have over 128 people on a waiting list that is good or valid for 3 years. So we can use the same list that we submitted last year for the grant application. Okay, let's see. Now, in order to the award amount can be up to $800,000. No single community can receive more than $1.35 million in any 2 consecutive years. So with some strategic thinking or planning, the town may decide, if successful this year, say with the $800,000, that leaves only $550,000 for a subsequent grant in fiscal year 2019. A decision could be made to apply for less than the $800,000 this year in order to leave that amount in almost equal amount or similar amount for fiscal year 2019. For $650,000, it's still good, 10 to 15 units of housing, and say 20 to 25 units of fuel assistance. Also looking forward to, in terms of planning, and we had met previously, let me back up. We need to we want to conduct a community forum as opposed to a community hearing. We are talking to the folks at the library for the meeting rooms, and we're looking at the possibility of, is it Tuesday night, February 6th, to use one of the meeting rooms at the library, but this is still in the planning stage. The community forum does not need to be noticed. However, we would attempt extensive outreach and try to get as many people at the forum as possible who would be interested in discussing the grant activities, or and I could answer questions about the application, the application activities, as well as anything about CDBG that the town would like to know, residents would like to know, as well as planning for out years. We've had a committee in the past. We'd like to continue that committee and to discuss how CDBG may be of further benefit to the town and through other activities that would require more planning and just more planning in order to have a shovel-ready or bid-ready projects at the time of the application. We want to open it up to questions.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing.
Okay.
We do have some documents that would need to be signed and submitted with the application. This evening, I would like to present to the board a designation for an environmental certifying officer. I don't know if you can vote on that during the selectmen's hearing, during the public hearing, but you may want to do it as business during the selectmen's meeting. Usually, this role is filled by a town administrator or town manager, but it's the town's decision. This person, an environmental review record is compiled for the overall grant as well as for each specific project to ensure that the program as a whole and for each individual project would not be creating any harm to the environment or to the abutters, neighbors, the neighborhood. So that record would be compiled and would be kept as a public record.
Madam Chairman, with your approval, could we ask a person with 25 years' experience doing this how he thought the best way to handle this would be?
It'd be, I think, better if we put it on for the next agenda because we're meeting next week.
Okay.
We do have votes may be taken, but I don't think this was contemplated, so.
We're meeting next Tuesday, so it won't
That's
be a
fine,
delay.
yeah, as long as we can provide this for the
You'll
application.
be, Madam Chairman, through you to Jim, I would think that you might have the recommendation of who you think would be best suited to carry out this task.
Yes, sir.
And will that meet,
That's-
that meet your criteria?
Yes,
Thank you, Madam
absolutely.
Chairman.
Okay. Is that it? Is that
Unless then-
That's your intro, does any, okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to open it up, the public hearing up to audience participation. Is there anyone that has any questions, comments regarding particularly for Brian, since he's the most knowledgeable about this?
I do have
Process?
business cards here, so if anyone would like to take my card and direct questions to me by email or phone. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to.
I have an immediate question.
As long as it has
I don't
something
know
to,
the format that you.
oh, as long as it has something to do with the CDBG grant, we can.
This is just, yeah, I do. I have a couple questions, but the
Sure.
first one is immediate. Does this environmental certifying officer have to be a town employee?
Good question. Probably.
I've known it to be an engineer
Yeah, okay,
acting on behalf of a municipality in another community. The Board of Selectmen are ultimately responsible.
Right.
It's who they designate.
Right.
So Ryan's correct that it's generally a staff person, a chief administrative officer, but I've known on occasion to have an engineer on behalf of the town.
With some type of contractual
Yeah.
relationship.
Okay, so, and that has to be already established, not established after the fact?
It's favorable in the, yes, we need to submit this, and we want to submit a environmental review with the application. And so that would require having an environmental certifying officer,
In place
And
prior to
designated,
March
yeah.
2nd?
yes.
Okay. As far as the things that the grant is for, it's housing rehab, infrastructure, something else that I didn't write down fast enough, but I can go look at online, and planning services.
Yes.
Would that include master plan consultation?
No, the.
When you say planning services,
Well,
what is
planning,
that?
if you were to, a planning grant is provided to, just say, if we wanted to plan an affordable housing development or a sizable construction project, but you can't just do it in the time frame of the application. You need to see if it's you would do a feasibility study, you would do some type of survey, you would hire architects or engineers to look at the feasibility of using a building that would be used. The end result has to benefit, the end activity or project needs to benefit low to moderate income individuals.
Okay,
Okay.
that's the bottom line?
Yes,
For whatever you're doing.
exactly, right,
Whatever the
yeah.
grant is funding. Okay, so next question is then, do you have to, when you put the grant in, do you already have to have some sort of idea of cost? Do you have to go in, like if you were planning a low-income housing?
Yeah.
Do you have to go in with all the numbers already in place?
Not for a planning grant, but when you submit, for a planning grant, we say we have this space and we're looking to, you wouldn't get all the money from CDBG, but we're looking for $150,000 to build 7 units of elderly housing, say. You wouldn't have the exact numbers. You might get some ballparks or feasibility, idea of what it would be. But for the actual grant submission, you would have to have, when the next year, when you come back, or the next 2 years, when you have the plan ready, those numbers have to be exact, but not for the planning grant.
Okay, and when are funds dispersed?
We will submit the grant in March. Grants are usually awarded sometime in July. Then you would have to go through there is,
The application process for the people that are going to.
right, but even before then, we would need to do a service agreement between MRPC and the town. The state doesn't get grants. Usually, it's between November and December, January, before the program is actually up and running. The environmental review has to be cleared. There is a notice of intent to request release of funds. These are all legal notices that have time periods. So, and again, the awards are made in July, but usually the program is not operational until November at the earliest, December.
So you're looking at 2 years out for the people that would benefit from this grant?
From this grant, no.
Not next winter, but the winter after?
No, well, if this grant is successful, we would be starting housing projects about a year from now. I mean, perhaps even sooner. But, for instance, we were successful in Shirley and Winchendon this year, and we're starting housing projects now. So when we submitted in March of 2017, we are now beginning to implement those projects.
So they wouldn't be prior to next winter, say?
Yes.
It would be during next winter?
Late fall,
So the benefit
yeah.
that they would see, other than perhaps fuel assistance,
Mm-hmm.
would still be?
Yes, and the grant expiration date would be December 31st of 2018. Most often, usually, I want to, maybe 60, 70, maybe 80% of the time, there's a 6-month extension granted by the state. Because housing rehab projects don't always fall into place that fast. It's always difficult to get them all done by that date, December 31st, but there's usually an extension date, but that is,
So it's about 6 months?
it's an
from when it's
18-month,
awarded.
yes, they say there's an 18-month grant period, but again, the first 4 or 5 months is, nothing usually happens.
So the grant expiration is December
31st,
2019?
Yes, I'm sorry, 2019, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
That's it for me, thank you. Unless I come up with another.
Sure, here's my card.
Madam Chair, if I could.
Yes.
For the housing rehab program, we have the benefit of having pre-qual people last year.
Yes.
So we have a list of people that were pre-qualified last year that would just need to be updated, and the work involved in updating is not particularly
Right.
onerous.
Usually what we do is go to that list first. Of course, we have to notice the entire town, of course, when the funds are available, but we do give those folks the benefit of contacting them directly once the program is operational.
Yeah, I think we're going to open, on that again, some of those people may not need it anymore. I'm assuming.
Possibly,
I'm
possibly,
assuming most
yeah.
of them, if they needed it last year, they probably still need
I'm
it
sure,
this year.
I'm sure, yeah.
But some people
that's-
sell their home or
That could be, yes,
Or-
absolutely.
did their resources from
Yeah.
other.
But I think
other
it's
places.
safe to say that
So we'll open it again for more applications.
Absolutely, yeah,
It's
right,
really worth
exactly.
knowing.
But I think the idea is that we're going to have quite a waiting list in Townsend, which is,
Already.
not great for all the people who are on the waiting list, but it's good for the town to show, to demonstrate. That's one of the biggest challenges of a CDBG application, is to demonstrate the need. That's one of the
Right.
major point areas, the challenges that the application needs to show.
Now, how much money do you think, from that list that we
Mhm.
already have, how much of a need financially do you think that adds up to?
Ooh,
Do you
that's a
have-
good question. There was a whole range. They were, I would say.
I'm just looking for.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
looking
I'm
around
just-
that 800,000, where.
Well,
are
no,
we?
I think we would never have enough, at least in one grant period, to service all the
Oh,
ones we
okay.
have on the waiting list. We would only a relative handful.
Oh, I see.
With a full grant, we did 20 units with almost $1 million in Shirley 3 years ago.
Okay.
We were able to do 20 homes, plus the fuel assistance. If you did straight all just housing rehab, and you went for the full $800,000, you might get, well, I guess that's 20 to 25 or maybe 30 units. It all, if you apply for the maximum, you apply the maximum in the budget, $40,000 for each for each project, but some projects may come in at 15 or 20, and that allows you to stretch out at the other end, so, you know, you could get another 4 or 5 units, say. But, yeah, we would never, I mean, that waiting list will be in town for a while.
Okay.
So you have these 128 applications, and you can service, say, 30 to 40 of them. How do you determine, how is it determined which ones are serviced? Who makes that decision, and how is it done? Is it done by income? Is it done by how bad your, you know, housing is? I mean, how do you
Board of Health
determine that, and
regulations.
who makes the decision?
Right, well, we would work with the town, with the board to create this priority list. And usually it's, well, we work with the people who are at 30% or below, for 30% of area. There's the extremely low income, up to 30%. There's the very low income, which is 30 to 50% of area median income, and then 50% to 80, which is low income.
Are those applications blind as far as who, the name of the person, or the address?
Well, yes, I mean, it was really just looking at income and eligibility.
Okay, so people who apply, you could say, okay, family of 4, anybody that's under 30,000 or 35,000 would most likely be able to take advantage of it in this coming year. And then if there's enough left, maybe you go up to 45 or something.
Right,
like
and the town may decide, again, there's no hard and fast rules that come from the state. This is really the town's grant to administer, so the town has a lot of leeway in terms of how they want to structure that, okay? How, you know, how would the list would be prioritized?
The other way that I've seen it done, Veronica, is based on the habitability of the housing unit.
Right.
So if you've got somebody that is in that 30 and below that needs new windows, but you've got somebody that's in the 30 to 50 that needs a boiler and a roof. So there's a,
Right,
I've seen it as a
exactly.
weighted thing,
Right.
not just based on income, but based on the habitability of the unit.
Exactly.
It can, right, and those factors can, and then, on the other hand, too, you may have some homes where, I mean, one of the rules of the housing rehab is when you go into a home, you need to address all code violations that are found. I know there are at least a few homes on that list that there are just way too many code violations.
So
We
would
would never be
electrical
able.
then
That
fit
would,
in
that
to
would,
that would it be included even though it's not, say, heating or, you know, that sort of thing?
Again, yes, I mean, it would, I'm sorry, I'll make sure I'm answering the right, I understand your question.
You're saying code violation?
Yes.
So if there's an electrical code violation,
Yeah.
even though that isn't something that has to do with your heating or, you know, insulation, those
Oh,
sorts of things?
Right, the
It's-
code violations could be anything from not having a GFCI outlet over sinks and kitchen counters, to exhaust and having ventilation in a bathroom, to having no roof or a failed septic system or no heating or defective heating system. Again, we address, we want to, but again, and lead paint is a big issue too. When we go into, the state requires that all lead paint needs to be abated, okay, from,
There's probably a fair amount.
yes, you know, so, you know, in extreme situations, you know, someone may, say an elderly person will, I need, you know, these ADA or accessibility fixtures in my home. We go in there, the home is loaded with lead, that takes up the entire $40,000. Theoretically, well, the lead has to be abated first. This is a downside, if you say, an extreme situation. I don't even think we really went into it so much, but we have to abate the lead. That has to come out first. So that sometimes that pushes off not other, say, code violations, but other things that could be repaired. You know, for instance, a heating system is required to be a healthy and safe and healthy home. If we go in and see a furnace that's over 20 years old, it's working, but it's at the end of its useful life, or nearing close to it, that is an eligible repair for us. But that can only be done if other code violations are done first. I hope I'm answering your question, but.
You are.
Okay, so, there are some, once the project gets started, you get more into the weeds of what's eligible, what are eligible activity, what eligible repairs, and, may not always.
So is there an upper cap per unit?
There is, it's $35,000 or $40,000. $40,000 if there is lead, if there is a septic failure, if there a failed Title V, or just say like a roof that is in such disrepair that water's coming in. These emergency repairs allows the cap to go up to $40,000. There's also something that's called a single case waiver. You apply. So we've done projects in the past for over $100,000 because there was no way that we would be able to address the code violations. All the code violations that exist in a particular home for $40,000. You have to make sure that you're not shortchanging or decreasing the goal significantly. The target goal, if we want to do 20 or 25 units, it's tricky, but there is also that option. Change orders happen often that may put over the cap, but you do apply for these case waivers. So again, homes can. This year we're doing projects that are $50,000 or $60,000.
Thank you.
So this year, we're planning on using, assuming we get the grant, we're applying for the grant for housing rehab and fuel assistance?
Yes.
Are those two separate?
One is a public social service.
Okay.
Yes, there'd be two different activities
Oh, okay.
within the grant. You're right. Some people are able to. A household's can apply for both, one or the other.
Okay. And how many people do you think would be assisted with the fuel assistance, or does it?
It's budget driven. So what I usually do is figure out how many what the town would apply for. If you want to go for the $800,000 and risk next year being able to only apply for whatever the balance is, $550,000, perfectly. Or if you want to cut that back a little bit and balance it out, we can discuss that. But I would usually put in the number of houses. Well, we look at the admin, it's up to 27%, but we almost never apply for that. MRPC usually goes between 12 and 15%, say, of costs that would help us stay in business during the course of the grant. And then we look at that number of houses, rehab, and then fit in the public social service after that. And so again, I'm just guessing, it's 15 units of housing, 20, 25 units of fuel assistance. It would be a good estimate of what $800,000 would get. Perhaps a little more.
Okay. One thing that's just going in the back of my mind is, well, we didn't get it last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we have so many people that we already identified that are in need.
Mm-hmm.
If that number, well, even with the number we have, but assuming that we might add to that this year with the applications,
Mm-hmm.
that just a lot of people in need. I'm just thinking that applying for the full amount might capture, if in some way make up for
Sure.
the hurt
Yeah.
that our residents, if we have
Yeah.
that many applications, that
Sure.
they're hurting.
You
If
don't-
they're still waiting, they're hurting, and maybe their situations have gotten worse.
You get a lesser score if you don't apply for two activities, though. So that's why the
Oh no, I'm not saying to go away from
She's saying
two activities.
take all the money one year instead of
I'm
2
talking
years.
about the 800,000 rather than
To apply for
I'm
the
just thinking
800,000 and
that
then
our
apply
goal.
for, yeah.
I'm thinking if we go for the full amount, even though we're risking not getting as much next year,
Right.
we're able to help more people that didn't get help last year.
800 is the max we can apply for in 1 year.
In a single year, yes, but
Then we-
then
then
for
we-
any 2 years,
we
it's
can only get-
1.35 million.
So if we got it this year and next year, or we wouldn't be able to ask for as much for next year.
Right.
If we got the 800,000 this year.
Right.
But help me with that thinking.
Right.
I'm thinking because we missed out on last year, our citizens are hurting.
And the-
for yet another year, and the more we can
I follow
help.
you, that makes sense. And the other side thing is that you're really well prepared for this. I'll talk about that in a minute, but, no, I mean that, and it makes me
Thank you.
happy. But Cindy's point is well taken, but here's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
With state government now and the economies, always take as much as you can the first year, because the
That's-
second year might not be there.
Right.
Plus, the other
You
thing
know,
I'm
it's-
thinking.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
that's
so
my fear.
My idea
The
is,
cost of
let's
these
do-
repairs is gonna
let's
only
do
go up.
both years, but guess what? The
Yeah.
most we can get the first year,
Go for it.
and then if it's a little less next year, but we know at least we got the most we could.
And then the following, so you can stagger it, 800,000 one year,
Whatever the
550 the
repairs
next, then
would
they can go
be.
for
I
800,000.
would
Will cost
tend to-
more next year too.
Right.
If we put it off,
Yeah.
if somebody gets their furnace replaced this year,
Yeah,
it'll be cost less, presumably,
A
yeah,
little less.
than next year.
true.
So that would give us less money.
So we don't lower our chances, not to interrupt you, Madam Chairman, but we don't lower our chances by how we break it up over the 2 years, as long as we do 2 years. That's the.
As long,
So that's the important thing. So I would be, we'll wait for Stu, but right now, I have to agree, take everything we can the first year, and then it's dessert the
yeah,
second year.
and then with some planning, maybe, you're right, there could be an infrastructure project or other type of
And if
planning.
there isn't,
project.
that's fine, but guess what? We have the bulk of our money
Yeah,
today.
that you can,
And then next year, good.
Okay.
Dessert time, but we're
Okay.
gonna have the bulk of the meal the first year.
yes.
I think
And-
Cindy and Jim
I'm
and you are
thinking,
good.
would it help, gee, we missed it last year. We asked for a lot of money this year.
Yeah.
Would that make us look needier? For those
I don't
evaluating
think the state, the readers would look at what you're asking for. They would, all they want to see is the soundness and the reasonableness of the ask. You know, that's all they're looking at. They, you know, they're not going to get into, well, they might be asking, they're not going to speculate as to why the town is asking for this amount as opposed to that amount. Every application from year to year, the only thing they're going to look at is, well, what, you know, every year they're going to do a, when the FY19 comes out, the one-year action plan and the application guidance, there's going to be a list in the back that says, these towns are limited to this amount this year, because what they got last year, and that's as far as it goes. I don't think that there's any other judgments made on the behalf of the readers.
Anyone in the audience have any more comments or questions?
Okay, I wanted to come tonight to learn a little bit about non-entitlement communities, because I'm used to working in those. I just want to say, I think it's great that we're doing this, and hopefully we get a lot of support from folks that can make it happen. Thank the board for working with MRPC, and hope to work with the board on some future applications in different areas, maybe whether it's this grant or others with MRPC, maybe related to some of the stuff that comes out of the master planning committee, related to economic development and some buildings that we might be able to use for youth services, so.
And the MRPC staff, our planning staff are definitely available throughout the year. Like I say, it's really great for CDBG applications to show that the town has met regularly throughout the year and has come up with you know, that's where you start getting into these other things other than housing rehab and, you know, public social services. You know, there could be after-school programming, there could be affordable housing development, there could be infrastructure or street repairs done. But again, that involves just a lot more planning, and so it would be great if we could get our committee going, and I would love to come and be able to help staff that and move forward. And Molly, as well as our other planning staff, are also available. And again, it doesn't have to be CDBG. Complete streets, all these other activities that are available at the regional level are things that MRPC could help the town with.
Yeah, I'm thinking too, further on in our agenda, we're going to be the planning board has recommended a hire so that we'll have an employee over there in that department to help with these kind of things, to talk about future planning activities and grants. So I know that's a position that we've all been lacking, and that hopefully that will help us with some of the great ideas that people are coming up with. And again, need some more people on that committee to get things moving. Hint, hint for anybody that wants to participate. Do we have anything else? Anyone have any other questions or comments regarding the CDBG application?
I would just have but I want to let everyone else have to
Okay.
speak. That's all you, Madam Chairman.
Sure.
Just a quick thing, to be very quick here is, as Mr. Krylan, the chairman, will tell you is that when professionals, whether they're town employees or people want to do business with the town, some people think it's unfair, but I have a high standard that you come and you're prepared, and that you also give us all the documents before the meeting. And I want to tell you, Mr. Keating, you're squared away. Well, in our words, I like to let people know who do exceptional work that they're doing that, and so I feel very comfortable that you're representing us, and thank you for that. And
quite
for
welcome.
being professional. And I know you, Mr. Kryl, and the board will do everything to secure this for our people.
MRPC is very grateful for the opportunity to work with the town.
Thank you. And then the quick other thing is, just because people out there see money and all this stuff, is that during the last 2.5 years, thanks to Mr. Kryler, but thanks to all the board members that have sat up with here, they've been extremely aggressive in going out and trying to bring a lot of grant money in here. And grant money, but it's more than just that. It enables quality of life issues. These are things that people live here, it's quality of life. And then the other thing is public safety. I know our chief, he's become very aggressive out there trying to do everything he can on tight budgets too. So grants are good when we do that. And then the last thing is, everyone says that government should be run like a business. Well, I disagree with that. I think we should be more business-like. And so our compacts, grants that we have, which we've brought a lot of money in, the board, everyone working together, the department heads, it's a team effort. But those money comes in, I think we're utilizing them to make a better town for tomorrow. Not only in the people who live here or support this town, they're going to have a better place, but also how we do business. We're learning through the compact how to make those dollars go farther. And so I want to sincerely say this, and three people I want to recognize. I don't want to leave anyone out, but three people in key. And it's Mr. Kryler, Carolyn Smart, and Cindy has made this her thing. And it's not against any other board members, but those three people, a lot of these grants wouldn't happen without them. So I want to thank everybody. And it'll be going on long after here. As best practices are here for a long time, and it's about good people. So we're trying to get you every dollar we can, folks. And thank you for coming. Thank you, Madam Chair, for letting me say that.
And I'll say a few things as well, but just about this particular grant process, I think is eye-opening and should be eye-opening to the entire community, both the employees and departments, those of us trying to run the place, and the regular citizens out there. When we see how many applications that we have of qualified applicants that must be in poverty, you have to be in poverty to apply for these grants. And that tells me we have a lot of citizens that really need help. We're not an affluent community. Our citizens struggle every day to pay their bills, to go about their lives, and have 100 and some odd people are having trouble keeping their house standing and heating their homes, and they need windows, they need roofs, they need furnaces, and they don't have the money. And I think we all need to be humbled a bit and be very fiscally conservative as we go about all of our planning, regardless of what committee we're on, whoever, when we're going to town meeting, when we're sitting on this board and other boards, that, hey, our citizens, we need to take this stuff into consideration, that
Couldn't agree more.
we don't, our citizens don't have the money to waste, and we need to, all of us need to apply for every grant that fits.
Yeah.
You can go into debt applying for too many grants because they have some of them have matching things we can't afford. But as we're doing our budgets, which we're working on for this year, and looking at grants like this, we need to get involved in the community and really be aware that our citizens really need additional help that might be invisible.
Just to that point, too, I just want to point out that we are emphasizing, now, we all know that the Montechusett Opportunity Council also services the area. Farm Workers Council, the Farm Workers Council also provides a federal fuel benefit. It is our intention and our plan and our strategy and on our management plan to maximize these services. So instead of duplicating, going into a home and providing a new boiler, well, let's work with Mock at the same time. Can Mock come in and service the boiler, leaving us more money to perhaps do other code repairs in that home or service additional homes. Make these CDB housing rehab dollars stretch. Should do the same thing with Get the Lead Out program. MRPC is a registered Get the Lead Out contract. I forget the exact term, but we can hire the contractors. So again, it's another resource to stretch those dollars. And so we use in our housing rehab dollars to, again, service more people. So that's one, to your point, that is something that we are intend on providing more focus or strategizing to make that happen more so this year than in other years.
Great. All right, are we all set now?
So,
Okay. All right, with that, I'd like to close the public hearing.
Madam Chairman, I'm just asking, I see something here. Do we need to?
Next, once we close the hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
It's on the agenda.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to accept a motion to close the public hearing.
At this time, Madam Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing of January 23rd, 2018, held at Memorial Hall for a community development block grant with CDBG. At this time, to close.
All right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Good job.
And I guess next on the agenda, there's a letter that you need. Do you need this letter?
Oh, you wanted to vote on that?
There's another letter.
To authorize the chairman to
There's
sign.
one thing that I'll need to change in it, I'm seeing, so
Oh.
if we can just have the vote to authorize the chair to sign, and then
Okay.
when you're next in the next
Oh, okay.
week or so.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to authorize the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to sign on behalf of the Townsend Board of Selectmen to endorse fully the application to DHCD for CDBG funding and FY 2017 to be submitted by the town of Townsend. Is that correct, Mr. Crowley?
FY 18, which is,
Sorry.
yeah, that's the change that
All right.
we can make.
So the one change is on that motion will be 18.
Okay, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed there was one thing that I noticed that I didn't think should be there. But anyway, okay.
Great.
All right, thank you for coming. Thank you for everybody that came out in this terrible weather. I didn't realize until I tried to leave my house how bad the ice was up there.
So we still want to work on the forum and maybe a meeting, getting the committee going, but should be a community, I think we're working on a community forum for the night of February 6th.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mr. Crowley, keep us informed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Great. I'll be in touch. Okay, next is work session. Votes may be taken. 3.1 is town administrator updates and reports.
Madam Chair, just one thing that was asked to be placed by the planning board. The planning board has submitted an email. It's in your packets. The planning board and the ZBA would like to extend an offer to Beth Faxon as the planning board ZBA administrator. Reference checks were completed. Many thanks for getting it on the agenda for Tuesday. Please let me know if you need any additional info. We have not yet received a copy of the application material for the file. And if you note the way the agenda item reads, it would be, if it's your pleasure, a motion to approve the hiring of Beth Faxon as Planning Board ZBA Administrator effective January 23rd, 2018, contingent upon passing a medical exam, Corey check, and with a one-year probationary period.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question here?
Sure.
Mr. Kryler, just only because we don't have the complete package, would it be a hardship to wait till Tuesday to do this when we have the complete package, or are you comfortable with it?
I'm comfortable with it. I know that they've spent some time vetting it, so.
That's just, I need to know.
Thank you.
And could you just tell me, just quickly, how many hours this is type of thing?
The planning assistant is 20 that's budgeted, and the ZBA, without pulling the budget in front of me, I think it's probably less than 5.
Anyway, do you have, I'll read the motion, do you have any?
Right on your
It's on the agenda.
Thank you, sorry. Just give me a second here.
First page. The first page.
Got it.
There you go.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to approve the hiring of Beth Faxon, Faxon, as the Planning Board ZBA Administrator effective January 23rd, 2018, contingent upon the passing of a medical exam and a Cory check with a one-year probationary period.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Okay.
both for that.
Hopefully everything works out well, so we can get that person in
Yes,
place.
that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay. 3.2, Board of Selectmen announcements, updates, and reports.
Madam Chairman, since this is not a regular meeting, we'll have our next one next Tuesday, correct? I just have two quick things. If I could ask to be put on the agenda for the meeting next week, to have a discussion with the full board, to have a discussion and conversation, possibly votes about, for the first time in town, the quick thing is I went to another town meeting and I was impressed where they actually give out every year town meeting to exemplary employees, one to public safety and then one to someone from town government. I think that would be a nice tradition to start, and but we could just put that on the agenda to have that conversation on Tuesday night. I would appreciate that. I just think it'd be something positive, and so thank you for that consideration. And then the second thing is, I only thought about this morning, as many of you out there, I don't know, 10 o'clock this morning, your lights go out, and how's my day going to be affected and all this, and that came on a couple hours, no big deal, but my selectman's hat went on, you know, about your responsibilities in public safety, and it just came to me that something nice, and I like good news, by the way, lately, I really do, and grants, it ties into that, is that we always think about when these emergencies, no power storms, about the people who might need services. It's always been the seniors in the past. And I was really happy, and I mean this sincerely, talking to grants, is that now at Atwood Acres, because of a grant, your seniors, some maybe your family members that have moved there, or friends you know, your seniors now can shelter in place because they have electricity immediately, a state-of-the-art thing, and it was done through a grant. And so that's good news. And I, you know, sometimes we need to let people know is that these grants are going for good things, but also that your seniors, who we have an obligation to, I've always said that, they built this town, they're now in terrible weather, electricity comes on. And the last thing I would like to recognize, when I first came here, 3 people I want to recognize in this. One's Tom Whittier, Shirley Coit. They've been working on this for years and years, even before I came here, and they were told it couldn't happen. And due to someone's experience here, he found a way to, what do you say sometimes, squeak in to go around the block. We were told that there's no way we could put it up there. Mr. Kryler, no one else, Mr. Kryler found out a way to make it legal to put that generator up there, even though we didn't own the land and stuff. So those people, sincerely up there, if you happen to see Shirley, Tom Whittier, or Mr. Kryler, you have electricity during storms because these 2 volunteers and 1 public employee went above and beyond. And that's a big deal, all right? It's a big deal that if your parents are there, you don't have to rush down there because they don't have heat or water, and they do now. So I know I'm going a little too long here, but I think we need to recognize when, one, we do things that are cost-effective, you know, because we don't have money to buy that stuff, and then the others, when employees and volunteers on our board step up. So thank you very much, and I'm done.
Thank you. And I don't have anything for this week. Maybe I'll have something for next week. Other than drive safely, be safe out there. The ice, I couldn't believe how long. It was supposed to be 50 today. I don't know what happened, but hopefully it's not icy when we go to leave. So we don't have any minutes, I don't believe,
Nothing
for
else.
approval.
Nope, nothing else tonight.
And I think we will next week, because it was one we didn't do last time.
Correct.
So, and I'll entertain a motion to review and sign the bills payable warrant. I think that's the only thing that's
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
And the final motion?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion at 6:50 PM to adjourn the Selectmen's meeting.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned.
Be safe out there, folks.